The spires of Zyphora glimmered beneath twin suns, a lattice of crystal towers entwined with floating gardens that defied gravity with delicate elegance. The air shimmered with the hum of energy conduits and hovering vehicles, but even the vibrant spectacle could not mask the palpable tension that clung to the palace courtyard. Here, amidst the iridescent pathways, the most dangerous tradition of the planet unfolded, the arrival of a new suitor to court Princess Lyra Vel'Ryn. Lyra herself appeared at the apex of the main terrace, her presence arresting in every sense. Every motion, deliberate and precise, radiated authority. Her form, tall and ethereal, moved like liquid starlight, and her eyes, pools of shifting violet, surveyed the courtyard with cold discernment. Her beauty was matched only by her notorious temper. No male who had attempted her favor had left the court unscathed, and many had not left at all. Tales of failed suitors whispered through the palace like a persistent wind, stories of pride shattered, schemes undone, and arrogance punished with merciless precision. 3 alien suitors knelt before her now, each chosen from the upper echelons of Zyphora's elite. They bowed stiffly, mechanical grace barely hiding the tremor in their limbs. One, a lithe scholar of intricate circuitry tattoos, had miscalculated the princess's preference for honesty over showmanship. Another, a warrior whose muscles rippled under iridescent armor, had dared to glance away during her assessment, only to be met with a glare that would have felled a lesser being. The third, a poet prince renowned for eloquence, faltered mid-verse, his words dissolving into terrified silence. Each failure reinforced the unspoken rule. None could approach Lyra with arrogance or expectation. Only humility, wit, and courage offered any slender hope. From the palace gates, a hum of energy heralded a different presence. A human delegation had arrived, clad in sleek suits of dark alloy and light-refracting visors. Among them, Nick stepped forward with a calm that contrasted sharply with the tension surrounding him. The humans, slender and modest in build compared to Zyphora's towering elites, might have seemed inconsequential to the untrained eye. Yet their movement carried a quiet assurance, an unspoken confidence born of ingenuity rather than brute force. Lyra's gaze fell upon them, narrowing. Curiosity sparked beneath the surface of her usual scorn. These beings were different. They did not fawn nor falter. They observed, measured, and approached with a kind of audacious patience. She had faced many who sought to impress her with strength, beauty, or cunning. These humans, by contrast, presented nothing immediately impressive, and that alone was disarming. Nick advanced a step, keeping his posture relaxed but respectful. Unlike the trembling alien suitors, he made no dramatic gesture or speech. The other humans followed, maintaining coordinated composure. One by one, they allowed themselves to be observed, as if their silence contained a challenge Lyra could not yet parse. Whispers rippled through the alien crowd. What audacity, what insolence, to stand before the princess without fear. Some marveled, others bristled. Lyra tilted her head, testing the edges of their calm. She raised one delicate hand, and the courtyard's energy conduits responded, sending a wave of light that could disorient even the strongest alien. Most suitors would have staggered, stumbled, or fled. Not Nick. He remained steady, blinking through the brilliance unshaken. A subtle smile flickered across his face, the first human reaction that suggested he was neither naive nor submissive. The princess stepped down from her terrace, each movement echoing like a warning bell. The alien suitors shrank back instinctively, anticipating her wrath, but Nick did not flinch. His eyes met hers steadily, and for a moment, the air seemed to recalibrate around them. Lyra could sense it. Here was a male unlike any she had known, a creature unafraid of her reputation, unbowed by her power. It was not defiance, exactly, nor reverence, but something in between, the quiet assertion of presence without aggression. Her violet eyes flickered with intrigue and irritation in equal measure. The human's demeanor challenged everything the court believed about dominance, hierarchy, and courage. In a society that rewarded control and punished miscalculation, The humans offered unpredictability. That unpredictability alone could be dangerous or exhilarating. As Nick approached the marked ceremonial circle, he paused, assessing the layout and the subtle, almost imperceptible traps woven into the stone. No alien suitor had managed this with such composure. Most had failed at the first test of instinct alone. Nick's calm inspection drew the eyes of the court, and for a fleeting moment, a murmur of awe replaced the usual chorus of fear. Then, as if testing the boundary of propriety, Nick extended a hand, not in challenge but in measured, human reassurance. A subtle gesture, almost intimate, designed to bridge understanding rather than dominate. Lyra's initial instinct was to recoil. Centuries of suitor failures had taught her to react swiftly, often with lethal force. Yet something in the stillness of Nick's presence slowed her reflexes, intrigued her curiosity against the grain of expectation. The courtyard seemed suspended, the twin suns casting elongated shadows as the alien council leaned forward, breath held. Here, in this singular moment, the delicate tension of interstellar diplomacy and human audacity collided. Nothing had been said, yet much had been communicated. Nick's calm, deliberate composure contrasted every previous suitor's failure. For the first time, Lyra sensed that the outcome might not be predetermined by her wrath or the human's fear, but by something far less tangible and far more human: empathy, strategy, and the quiet strength of restraint. And so, with a measured step forward, Nick positioned himself in the center of the ceremonial circle. The alien suitors shrank back, unsure whether to witness or retreat. Lyra's eyes narrowed, curiosity now overtaking anger, for in Nick's presence, the familiar rules of courtly dominance seemed suddenly inadequate. The stage was set. The humans had arrived, unbroken and unbowed, and the game of wit, patience, and courage that defined suitor and princess was about to begin in earnest. The courtyard held its collective breath. The grand doors of the palace hall parted with a silent sweep, revealing an expanse of opalescent marble, threaded with veins of liquid crystal that pulsed with the rhythm of the palace itself. The human delegation followed Nick inside, their steps measured and precise, yet carrying a natural rhythm that contrasted with the rigid formality of the alien attendants. Every eye in the hall turned toward them, the alien council murmuring under their breath at the audacity of these diminutive beings who walked unflinchingly into the domain of the feared Princess Lyra Vel'Ryn. Lyra descended from her elevated dais, her every motion fluid and commanding. Her gaze, sharp and violet, swept over the humans as though dissecting their very essence. While alien suitors had fallen before the slightest provocation, the humans exhibited a composed curiosity that unsettled the court. She regarded Nick particularly, sensing a calmness that was foreign yet unnervingly potent. There was no bravado, no attempt to impress, only observation, patience, and a quiet understanding that she could not easily read. "Step forward," Lyra commanded, her voice a melodic resonance that carried the subtle weight of threat. The humans obeyed, Nick leading. He moved with deliberate care, but without hesitation, aware that each gesture would be analyzed. Lyra's challenge was unspoken but understood, a test of courage, empathy, and intelligence. She would expose weakness, and many had crumbled before her. Yet Nick's calm seemed to defy anticipation, presenting a kind of human resilience that alien suitors lacked entirely. The first trial was subtle yet insidious. The floor beneath them shimmered, projecting illusions designed to exploit fear, desire, and instinct. A series of ghostly apparitions appeared, each crafted to provoke panic or arrogance, serpentine predators slithering toward the humans, walls that appeared to close in, dissonant echoes of whispers intended to unsettle their minds. The alien suitors would have faltered instantly, their training inadequate against such psychological precision. Nick, however, breathed evenly, scanning each apparition with detached scrutiny, as though cataloging rather than fearing. One illusion surged toward him, a towering predator with eyes like molten metal. Nick did not flinch. Instead, he extended a hand in a subtle gesture of reassurance, not to the creature, but toward the invisible presence of the princess herself. The action was simple yet shocking. The predator dissipated, the illusion bending at the edge of comprehension, leaving the court in stunned silence. Whispers rippled through the alien attendants. Humans did not react as expected. They adapted in ways that defied calculation. The test escalated. Floating platforms, some solid, others spectral, required precise navigation. Energy barriers shimmered between them, calibrated to probe reflexes and judgment. The other humans followed Nick's lead, moving with coordination that suggested a silent, intuitive understanding of each other's presence. The court watched in a mixture of awe and incredulity. Here were beings who combined intellect, adaptability, and cohesion in a way that no Zyphoran had witnessed before. Lyra's own patience began to fray. The illusions were designed to provoke frustration, and few had resisted their manipulative logic. Yet Nick did not yield to anger or fear. When a sudden burst of energy knocked one of the human crew members toward a chasm, Nick reacted instantly. He stepped forward, placing himself between danger and the colleague, guiding him safely across with a steady hand. The princess's brow furrowed. This was care, restraint, and decisiveness rolled into one, a combination she had not anticipated. At the pinnacle of the trial, the illusions coalesced into a form resembling the idealized image of a suitor in Zyphoran legend, powerful, confident, and intimidating. It was a test of instinct, react with dominance, flee or falter. Nick approached slowly, and in a gesture that shocked the alien court into silence, he extended his arms and hugged the humanoid projection. Not aggressively, not arrogantly, but calmly, firmly, reassuringly. Lyra's image shimmered and fragmented, the illusion unable to withstand the human's empathy. The court gasped. No alien suitor had ever approached such a challenge with such composure, let alone with compassion. Lyra herself felt the first stirrings of genuine curiosity. Nick's actions had bypassed the expected pathways of fear and submission, demonstrating something fundamentally human, the courage to meet conflict not with aggression, but with understanding. Her violet eyes lingered on him longer than decorum allowed. The whispers of amazement grew louder. This human did not merely survive her trials, he transformed them. When the illusions faded, Nick stepped back, giving space but maintaining calm eye contact. Lyra's expression was inscrutable, a mixture of irritation, intrigue, and a spark of admiration she would not yet admit. The other humans, inspired by his lead, moved with renewed confidence, their teamwork flawless, their reactions measured and precise. They had passed the first challenge not by strength, but by observation, restraint, and ingenuity. The alien suitors shuffled uneasily, their past failures now a vivid contrast to the humans' surprising composure. Murmurs spread through the palace. These beings were unpredictable, capable of acts that defied the rigid logic of Zyphora's society. They were small, unassuming, and yet they had changed the rules. Lyra rose, the violet of her eyes intensifying as she regarded Nick. There was a subtle shift in her demeanor, a recognition that this encounter was unlike any before. She could not yet articulate the nature of the threat or the fascination he represented. All she knew was that her court, her rituals, and her expectations had been challenged, and for the first time in memory, she was uncertain how it would end. Nick inclined his head respectfully, a gesture of acknowledgement and readiness. The other humans mirrored him, steady and composed, a silent testament to their unity. The princess's next decision loomed, the stakes unspoken but understood. Would these humans falter in the trials ahead, or would they continue to defy expectation in ways no alien had ever imagined? The court held its collective breath, anticipation and tension woven into the very air. A subtle hum of energy pulsed through the hall, as if the palace itself awaited the answer. The arena stretched before them like a crystal labyrinth suspended over nothingness, its platforms shifting unpredictably, glowing with energy lines that hummed with latent power. The alien council gathered above on balconies carved from pure luminescent stone, their eyes fixed on the humans. Lyra descended to the arena floor herself, a living silhouette of authority, her violet eyes narrowing as she assessed the situation. The trial here was designed to be insurmountable, an intricate ballet of traps, illusions, and raw energy tests intended to humiliate or destroy any suitor who dared step into its expanse. Nick's gaze swept over the arena, taking in the subtle variations in platform density, the oscillating energy barriers, and the drones that patrolled the corridors like silent predators. While others might have hesitated, he moved with calm precision, calculating trajectories and timing. The humans were small compared to the towering alien constructs and lethal drones, yet Nick's mind worked in patterns alien to Zyphora: lateral thinking, improvisation, and anticipation of unexpected variables. The first wave of drones advanced, their metallic bodies glinting in the arena lights, energy blades extending with deadly precision. Alien suitors would have charged headlong, relying on raw power and speed. Nick, however, tapped into the cockpit controls of the human mecha, sleek, humanoid, and designed with adaptive AI. The mech's movements mirrored his own intent, fluid, anticipatory, capable of improvisation that no purely programmed system could achieve. With a flick of his wrist, a drone lunged, only to be sidestepped effortlessly as Nick redirected the mech's arm to intercept it midair, disarming it without destruction. Lyra's violet gaze followed every motion, curiosity now mingling with her traditional expectation of fury. She had designed the arena to provoke panic, yet Nick's response was measured, deliberate, and almost elegant. The human strategy was not confrontation but observation, adaptation, and teamwork. Each crew member anticipated the other's actions, moving with silent coordination that minimized risk and maximized efficiency. The court murmured in disbelief. Humans were not merely surviving, they were mastering the trial. A sudden surge of energy erupted across one platform, threatening to collapse it entirely. Nick's reflexes were immediate. The mech leapt, propelling him over the collapsing surface, while simultaneously extending a stabilizing arm to secure a teammate who had misstepped. The maneuver was precise, almost poetic, and yet undeniably human in its intuition. The alien spectators gasped. Here was raw capability, without the brutality or predictability of Zyphora's warriors. As the humans advanced, illusions intensified, coalescing into monstrous shapes designed to provoke fear and aggression. One formed the visage of a legendary suitor who had failed centuries prior, wielding spectral weapons and snarling with the echoes of old defeats. Most alien suitors would have frozen, paralyzed by recognition and fear. Nick, however, paused only briefly, assessing the construct's motion. With a calm exhalation, he guided the mech forward, not to strike with force but to interact, intercept, and redirect. Each move was calculated to neutralize threat while conserving energy and avoiding unnecessary destruction, a testament to human ingenuity. A moment arrived that would test not only strategy but empathy. A massive energy barrier descended toward one of the human crew members, trapping him in a narrowing corridor. Without hesitation, Nick extended the mech's arm, pushing against the barrier with synchronized precision while simultaneously deploying a projected energy field to shield his teammate. The barrier buckled and dissipated under the combination of adaptive engineering and human intuition. Lyra's eyes widened. No one had ever countered her constructs so effectively without brute force or reckless defiance. The climax approached as the arena's central chamber opened, revealing a vast energy vortex surrounded by shifting platforms, each radiating lethal currents. The humans hesitated for only a heartbeat. Nick's mind raced, mapping trajectories, predicting platform shifts, and calculating energy surges in real time. The mech responded seamlessly to his commands, moving as an extension of his will rather than as a machine. One by one, humans crossed the vortex, their timing flawless, their trust in Nick absolute. Then, as the final challenge, a colossal holographic manifestation of Lyra herself appeared, radiating overwhelming power, designed to intimidate and provoke. Her spectral form advanced, eyes blazing with simulated wrath. The humans froze only momentarily, instinctively deferring to Nick's judgment. With calm authority, He moved forward in the mech, hands extended, mirroring the gesture of reconciliation he had shown earlier in the palace hall. Rather than attacking, he approached with a combination of caution and empathy, signaling understanding and control. The holographic Lyra faltered, its simulated energy wavering in response to the unexpected gesture. Nick extended a mechanical arm, guiding the projection into a neutral stance, disarming the intended threat without a single blow. The arena's energy recalibrated around this new behavior, and for the first time, the system recognized adaptability as a valid solution. The humans had succeeded not by defeating the challenge with violence, but by transcending it with ingenuity, coordination, and strategic empathy. Silence fell across the arena as the final illusions dissolved, leaving the humans standing on solid ground, unscathed and composed. The alien court, previously rigid with expectation, now leaned forward in awe, murmurs of disbelief rippling through the galleries. Lyra herself descended, her eyes locked on Nick. The calm, confident human who had hugged illusions in place of combat had demonstrated a quality the court could scarcely categorize: courage tempered by empathy, intelligence applied with patience, and a willingness to act where others had faltered. Nick exited the mech and stepped forward, helmet tucked under his arm, his calm presence unshaken despite the intensity of the trial. His crew gathered around him, their faces reflecting admiration and trust. Lyra's expression remained enigmatic, her rage replaced by an unmistakable spark of curiosity. She had designed the arena to test strength, yet the humans had redefined victory entirely. For the first time in memory, she faced the unsettling realization that her court, her challenges, and even her expectations might be inadequate to contain or understand these beings. Nick's calm, strategic brilliance had altered the rules of engagement, and in doing so, had begun a silent dialogue with the princess, a dialogue that promised change, challenge, and perhaps a begrudging respect yet unspoken. The court held its collective breath, awaiting Lyra's next move, as the humans stood poised not just to survive, but to redefine the very notion of power on Zyphora. The arena fell silent, the echoes of energy dissipating like whispers in the wind. The humans stood together, calm, unscathed, their cohesion a testament to planning and trust. Nick stepped out of the mech, his movements measured and confident, helmet under one arm, eyes scanning the assembly above. Lyra Vel'Ryn descended to the arena floor, her violet eyes fixed on him with a mixture of curiosity, disbelief, and grudging admiration. For centuries, no suitor had survived her trials unbroken. No alien had even come close. Yet these humans, fragile by Zyphran standards, had not only endured but redefined what it meant to confront power. Lyra's gaze softened slightly, though she would not have admitted it aloud. There was a spark of recognition in her eyes, a recognition that strength could take forms she had never considered: restraint, ingenuity, and empathy. The council murmured in disbelief, alien voices tinged with fear, pride, and wonder. Many struggled to categorize the humans. Were they lucky, adaptive, or something altogether different? Nick's calm presence unsettled centuries of tradition. He approached the dais with careful steps, acknowledging the princess's authority without submission. His composure radiated confidence rooted in competence, not arrogance. Lyra tilted her head, studying him. "You have endured what none before could," she said, her voice measured yet tinged with incredulity. "And yet you have not sought to dominate, only to understand." Nick inclined his head slightly. "Understanding is the first step toward meaningful action," he replied. His tone carried neither defiance nor flattery, only clarity. The court fell into silence. Such reasoning was alien to them. Most would have responded with bravado, fear, or manipulation. Nick offered none of these. A subtle tension lingered between them, unspoken yet powerful. Lyra's violet eyes flickered as she assessed the human before her. There was a strange balance here, caution mingled with curiosity, authority tempered by intrigue. This was not defiance, nor was it surrender. It was a human quality she could not easily grasp, a quality that had allowed them to survive trials designed to crush the proud and the reckless. Nick's crew gathered behind him, their faces reflecting trust, pride, and relief. They had followed him through impossible tests, relying on his judgment and calm decisiveness. He allowed himself a brief, subtle smile, not for triumph, but for the knowledge that they had acted as a team, not merely as individuals. This distinction, he knew, was as important to their survival as any technological advantage. Lyra stepped closer, the air between them charged with unspoken acknowledgement. "You are unlike any I have encountered," she said, her tone softening further. There was no malice, only the faintest trace of admiration and, perhaps, the beginnings of respect. The human success had challenged not only her authority, but her understanding of strength and potential. Nick maintained a measured distance, yet his eyes conveyed empathy. "We are not here to challenge your authority," he said. "We are here to understand, and to show that collaboration often achieves more than conquest." His words were simple, yet their implications reverberated through the court. Lyra's pupils dilated slightly, an unspoken recognition that humans operated by principles beyond dominance and fear. The council whispered among themselves, debating what this encounter meant. Some argued that humans were a threat, unpredictable and therefore dangerous. Others, swayed by the undeniable success of Nick's team, suggested they might be allies, beings capable of solutions no Zyphoran had envisioned. Lyra remained silent, weighing each argument internally, her thoughts layered with centuries of experience and instinct. Finally, she gestured toward the humans. "You have proven your worth not through aggression, but through ingenuity and understanding," she said. "The trials were designed to test power, yet you have redefined their meaning. For this, you have my respect." The word lingered in the air, heavy with significance. Respect from Lyra Vel'Ryn was no small matter. It was acknowledgement from a being who had crushed countless suitors and whose temper was legendary. Nick nodded respectfully. "Then let our next actions be guided by collaboration, not expectation." His words resonated not only with the humans but with the observing council. For the first time, the idea of interspecies cooperation seemed plausible rather than fanciful. A soft hum ran through the arena as Lyra turned toward the distant horizon, where twin suns reflected off the palace spires. "Your people are unusual," she murmured. "Perhaps there is more to this universe than even I have understood." She paused, a subtle smile touching her lips. "We shall see where this leads." Nick allowed himself a quiet exhale, the tension of the trials giving way to anticipation rather than relief. There was much work ahead, challenges that extended far beyond the arena, and threats that neither humans nor Zypherans could face alone. Yet in this moment, a bridge had been built, tenuous, fragile, but real. A bridge founded on understanding, courage, and the calm assertion of human ingenuity. The humans gathered together, side by side, their camaraderie evident, their trust in Nick absolute. Lyra observed them from a short distance, her violet eyes no longer just calculating, but reflective, contemplative. The palace seemed less like a prison and more like a stage where alliances might form, not just tests of dominance. Nick glanced at Lyra, noting the faint, almost imperceptible shift in her demeanor. The princess, who had once intimidated countless suitors, now regarded him with a mixture of respect and curiosity. He extended a subtle nod, acknowledging her, and she responded with the smallest inclination of her head, a silent agreement that this encounter had altered expectations and perceptions alike. As the humans prepared to leave the arena, the court remained silent, still processing the unprecedented outcome. Nick knew the challenges were only beginning. The universe was vast, threats were inevitable, and Lyra herself was a force both awe-inspiring and formidable. Yet for the first time, there existed a glimmer of possibility, a partnership that could transcend fear, convention, and history. The twin suns dipped lower, casting elongated shadows across the arena floor. Nick's calm presence, the human's ingenuity, and the princess' growing curiosity had set the stage for a future neither side could fully predict. The air was charged with potential, the story far from over. The humans exited the arena, not as conquerors, but as equals. And for the first time, Princess Lyra Vel'Ryn wondered if perhaps the humans, so unassuming yet so resilient, might be the key to a new kind of power, one that relied not on rage, not on fear, but on understanding, courage, and the subtle strength of restraint. The court watched, breathless, knowing that the next chapter of this unprecedented encounter was only beginning.